In this episode, we'll be exploring a little bit of the Torres Strait Islands while we base ourselves on Thursday Island for a month of work and exploration. We visit Friday Island and we make our way from Stacia all the way down to Weipa with our caravan in tow. And of course, we stop to check out Elliott Falls and Fruitbat Falls. Just months ago, we packed up our entire house into a caravan and ute. And now, we had to pack up all of that into 2 suitcases and boarded the Torres Magic. Our destination was a tiny little island in the middle of the Torres Strait between the tip of Queensland and Papua New Guinea. The island was Thursday Island, and this would be our home for the next few weeks. We came to TI to fulfill part of a work contract that saw us exploring and working throughout Cape York and Torres Strait for 6 months. When first approaching the island, our thoughts were, wow, this place is stunning. We fell in love with TI very quickly. Everything about the place, from the friendly locals to the beautiful surroundings to the awesome food, we just felt right at home. I highly recommend everyone who comes to the tip, take that day trip to Thursday Island from Stacia. You will not regret it. You can do organised tours on the island, or you can just get to the island and hire yourself a taxi and ask them to show you around. It's only a very small island at 3.5 square kilometres. You will definitely have to go and check out Green Hill Fort. It was built between 1891 and 1893 as part of Australia's defence against a possible Russian invasion. It was eventually decommissioned in 1927. However, the building structures and the guns remain there for you to go and explore. It was also a favourite spot for us and the locals to go and enjoy a sunset and some drinks and catch up with some mates. After that, why don't you grab yourself a crayfish pie from Mackay Cafe? They are delicious. Or take your pick of one of the many beautiful pubs on the island. They're all good, I know, I've been to all of them. But if I had to choose one, I would go to the Torres Hotel. It's great food, but it also boasts to be Australia's most northern pub. Because we don't have a car on the island, the kids' stroller became a bit of a mule, carrying everything from fishing gear to groceries all over the island. That stroller did quite a few Ks and laps of the island, to the point that at the end it was starting to fall apart on us. But we were ever so grateful to have it. While we were there, we were recommended many times to go and check out the Kazoo Pearl Farm on Friday Island, so that's exactly what we did. It's just a short boat ride from Thursday Island to Friday Island, and it's where former pearl diver Kazuyoshi Takami does demonstrations of oyster seedings and cultivations, and a specially prepared Japanese seafood sushi style lunch, which is the best sushi I've ever had in my life. The exact menu will depend on what they can catch the previous few days, but it usually includes a little taste of the pearling oyster meat. It's also a great place to get some pearl jewelry, as they sell some right on the island. Soon though, it was arigato and sayonara to Friday Island. Here's Jaden motoring along in the Torres Strait.
Doing 23 knots.
23 knots, mate! That's where Mum works, at the hospital. While on TI, we gave the fishing a red hot crack. It was all land-based from wherever we could walk to, and we caught plenty of fish of all different varieties. Unfortunately, however, they were all just the baby versions of the ones we really wanted. Remember how I mentioned the locals are friendly? Well, as well as that, they're also very generous. A whole family pulled up in a little boat and they gave us a whole trevally because they saw us fishing and not catching. So we made sure to eat every little bit of that trevally that we could. And on another occasion, while having lunch at the pub, a gentleman came over and gave us a $5 note and said, make sure you buy your kids some lollies. We would always be stopping and having a yarn everywhere we go, and the aunties absolutely adored our little kids. The other thing we indulged on while on TI was the painted crays. The boys even got given some free ones when we went to check them out at the warehouse. The crays make up quite an industry throughout Torres Strait and make a good source of income for the area. While we were on TI, we were lucky enough to be visited by my auntie and uncle and cousins who had come all the way from Maxfield in New South Wales to Cape York on their very own epic adventure. It was great seeing some family again after months on the road. Our month on TI came to an end, and strangely enough, in that short time, we had developed a strong connection to the area and a sense of home. So we said to TI, "Essay for the memories, and we shall be back soon." Now, we actually spent a few more weeks at Stacia. However, we covered all of that in the previous video, which is things to do at the top of Cape York. So if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. It was basically a lot of fishing, eating, and exploring. So in the next part of this video, we're going to cover our journey from Stacia back down to Weipa, where we spent another month working and exploring the area. So we reluctantly say goodbye to Stacia, which just quietly is my personal favorite spot in all of Australia so far. We have traveled 45,000 kilometers in 1.5 years, and this is still the best. With the caravan packed and hitched, we made our way down to the ferry to wait our turn to jump on. This time round, there was a lot more traffic, and because we had the caravan, we had to wait a little longer for all the cars to get on first. But soon enough, we got our turn scraping on once again. Morning. Yep.
Morning.
This time round, the road south of the ferry was in really good condition, thanks to a recent grading. But we still took plenty of opportunities to have a rest for the driver and the vehicles. There's plenty up here to remind you what can happen when things go wrong. We set up camp fairly early that day at Bramwell Junction, and we got to collecting some firewood. I'll tell you what, this cart has come in very handy in our travels around Australia. I realised that the fire hadn't been put out properly by the previous people, so I decided to show the boys the importance of managing your fire by reigniting the fire without using any ignition.
When it's white like that, Jaden, it means it's really hot.
Mama?
I saw a flame. I saw an ember. Oh, watch out, fire!
That's enough. That evening, we feasted on homemade damper and sushi made by my lovely wife, and we enjoyed a beautiful, peaceful night under the starry skies. The next morning, we got up early, half-packed the caravan, and left it behind at Bramwell Junction while we did a day trip to Fruipout Falls. We still hadn't seen Fruipout Falls, and I wasn't about to leave the Cape without at least laying my eyes on it. By the time we arrived at Fruipout Falls, little Jordan had fallen asleep in the car, so Mum stayed behind to watch him while me and Jaden trekked in to check it out. It was quite an emotional experience for me to go to Fruipout Falls and witness it for the first time, as it's something that I have wanted to do for a very long time. And me and Jaden just so happened to have the whole place all to ourselves, so I couldn't help myself but to have a quick dip before heading back to the car. And letting Ashlyn come down to have a explore for herself too. When we first arrived here, the car park was empty, but when we were leaving, it was chock-a-block. Little Geordie was still asleep in the car, so we kept going north to check out Elliot and Twin Falls. When we were there, they were doing the works at Canal Creek to put the concrete slabs down on the riverbed. So we would have been one of the last cars to drive down that part of the riverbed. This here is Elliot Falls. You quite often see people jumping from the top of the waterfalls into the deep pools below. There is also a great national parks campground right here. If you're interested in more details of this area, we have a video dedicated just on camping at Elliot Falls, where we did a weekender trip from Weipa. So I'll put a link in the description, you can check it out. This one is Twin Falls, and out of all of the waterfalls, I think if you have toddlers, swimming at Twin Falls is probably the best. It's nice and shallow, and it has a really good sandy base. After a few hours of enjoying the waterfalls, it was time to hit the road back to Bramwell Junction. We're held up once again a little bit at Canal Creek where they put more slabs down, but it was just another opportunity for us to get in the water. When we got to Bramwell and realised we still had a couple of hours of daylight, we made a last minute decision to pack up the caravan and head down just a little bit further south to Moreton Telegraph Station. The main reason I really wanted to stop at Moreton Telegraph Station for at least one night is because on the way up, if you remember, I witnessed my neighbour catching lots of fish here. So I set up camp as quick as I could that night and we headed straight down to the Wenlock to try my luck. And as it happens to be, I got two nice little sooty grunters before the sun went down and the mozzies came out in full force. So we retreated back to the caravan for the night, but in the morning, we were straight back down the river again. Just a little bit downstream on the Wenlock from the Moreton Telegraph Station is the Steve Irwin Wildlife Reserve. The Irwin family with their team spend months there every year doing research. We had a pretty good one going into Weipa via Batavia Downs, and that's where we'll finish off this video. Make sure you join us in the next part of this series where we show you what we got up to with our 1 month of working and exploring around Weipa. I'll give you a hint, there was a lot of fishing and a lot of croc spotting. Thank you for spending your precious time watching our video. We are a family with 2 young kids and we have been working and traveling our way around Australia since March 2019. We share with you our trips so you can see that it's very possible to travel with young kids. We also share with you some tips that we've learned along the way, making traveling with kids a little bit easier. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel for future videos we upload every week. Thank you very much.